Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome one and all to Animal House Radio via American Forces Network. And today we have
Hey.
a spectacular guest for you and two very special co-hosts. Joining me today as my wing people, I don't want to say woman or man, so my wing people is the queen of the Las Vegas Strip, a U.S. Army veteran and a veteran comedian, Miss Linda Marcus Smith. Linda, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
my brother in podcasting and my paisan, Steve Cooper of Cooper Talk. Steve, welcome.
Thank you, man. Good to see you, Carlo. Good to see you.
And last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend, who's been in more movies than I could shake a stick at. If you had to pick your favorite Mike Starr movie, it's like trying to ask someone what their favorite Beatles song is. You can't do it. Please welcome for the first time on Animal House Radio, and hopefully not the last if we don't get a restraining order in the mail. Please welcome Mr. Mike Starr. Mike, thank you.
Thank you. Great to see you. Thanks for having me, Carlson.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, Mike, I'm going to kick things off. And yeah.
Hello.
All right, Mike, I'm going to kick things off. Since I have roots in comedy, I got to ask you. I believe many moons ago, you tried your hand at stand up. You did an open mic in Long Island. You said that's it for me.
Oh my God! Make a movie out of the movie. People would get on. You didn't know how it went or whatever, but you'd say a lot of times it's become a cliche movie about making this movie be more interesting, And my friend Doug Baldwin in Portland, and he got into advertising and writing and whatnot, and we were at Hofstra together. Excuse me. And then we get some tea. I believe it was our last year or something, and there's a place called My Father's Place. You may know it was actually a lot of people went there. And we went on a Monday night, and I think that would take another podcast to tell you all the stuff that came back. We wrote out these skits, and actually they were pretty good. There was some stuff that was pretty good. We had an eclectic following. I can't even begin to tell you. My cousin Paul, Prince A.A. Keem, who I met and owners were there. Who else? I had a few other. I had an assortment of characters come, and actually we have done later on similar. I'm not saying anyone stole from us, but they were 1973. I think I did Howard Cosell interviewing Jesus at the sports thing, something like that. We did a few things like that. I did my.
Oh wow!
It wasn't great, but that gives it a frame of time. But we were nervous. We started drinking or something. I forget, or I think we probably thought we did. Me and Doug, and we had done summer stock theater as well as theater in Hofstra, and we were doing stuff. Now we said, wait a second, wait, let's have some coffee. Now, by the time we got on, I don't know what was going on, but it was a lot of fun. So that was it, one and done.
Well, you know what? You chose the right path. So, but speaking of comedy, I heard through the grapevine that you do a killer Jack Benny impersonation.
My God, where is this coming from? Where you getting all this? That went into acting because I was always clowning around, and I had a bully for a while, and all of a sudden wasn't allowed to be cleared to play football at this football pass. And I was fooling around all the time, and this guy said, listen, would you do me a favor? You're so fun, do this and that. God knows how many people got that reference, because it was, and I don't even know how many people got it, but I they played the song that came out, and I think I did well. That was about it. I knew how to do well, and you have to make school and team like Family Guy does a take off on the. And I forget, the important thing is I got discovered because I was at an old boys Catholic school. It was this school called Snob Hill was the nickname. Mary Lou something said, listen, they're doing right. They're doing Carnival, and there's a small part for Dr. Glasses. One of the suitors out and do a monologue or something, and I I said okay because they were so strict and they had these wonderful, beautiful people, and the nuns straps across their back because too much skin was showing, right? And that was Catholic, so I guess there. But it was funny. Actually, that was no. I had one more year or two after starting like a whole thing at school and doing. We did comedy. Actually, I actually did. I thought I was going to get into. I thought I was an activist in the neighborhood, working with kids. I thought I was going to be a poli-sci major. The other fellow with me wanted to be a comedian so bad. Mike Abel, he wound up being a council acting, and we won the talent award. I think we won the talent contest and see other great impersonations that people would know. Governor Rockefeller, Mayor Buckley. I did all these impersonations that, like, people would say, and now who are the, how? What did they sound like? My brother Bo Starr was with the Jets at the time and on the tax squad, and he came with his girlfriend to see me in this show. I know I'm opened up a big can, and especially with me. I'm like a Macy's Day float. You have to reel me in to it and said, "This is what you're gonna do." I said, "No, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'll get clean." Nah, that's how. Come on, music. What you want to do? He said, "You've got something called charisma." I said, "Really?" So my dad and I were. I think my brother Jimmy was in Vietnam at the time, I think, and John was up, and this was the late '60s, and we used to go bar, which I eventually was a ball boy at it. This and that. The Jets were training at Hofstra University on Long Island. One of the top actress. She was one of the top in the country, and became one of my mentors. And they sat. And I'm saying, what the heck is this? And they told me about this drama corps program, and I said, that's nice. I was very respectful, and I was going to be a guy that did plays because I started watching like Joe Housing projects. He'd bring around great people like Cleavon Little and Roscoe Lee Brown, Jones, and I got influenced by theater. But I said, no, I'll be a poli-sci theater and whatever. I worked with kids in the neighborhood. Let me see, I'll do that. I wasn't sure. Pitched me this thing. I didn't realize I was being pitched. And my brother said to me, Lawrence, so what do you think? Because I had seen this guy Tank. I'd seen the plays at Hofstra. I said, yeah, I'd love to do 1,200 seat theater or something, among others. And my brother said, about the drama major? What, are you kidding me? And he said, people from performing, he said to me, exactly what I said. He said to me, hey, schmuck, listen to me. Anyone that comes from where we come from, we were working class background, and that, but no one talks like us. No one looks like you. They don't have anyone. If you're any good, you're going to get a scholarship for 4 more years. I said, no shit. There are Carl Morris, Army veteran from World War II, was a body movement teacher, and boys school, and I'm running around with people in tights, and learning how to walk straight, how to be on stage, and the rest is my Mikey history.
Yeah, definitely.
And I never got. That is a world you're in about standing up. I never did. People would say, I said, there's a big difference between being funny on the with your friend or on a movie set, and actually standing up and trying to do it. That's a whole different art and skill, and it translates to acting, this and that, as you know. I don't like when people say I could have done this, I would have done that, or I would have been, if I would. No. If you didn't do it, you didn't do it.
Right.
Hey,
Cool.
Mike. Mike, I got a question. When you decided to get
Did
into
that
acting,
helpful?
when you said this,
Was that helpful as an answer, by the way?
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's great. Yeah. Go ahead, Coop.
Mike, I was gonna say when you decided to get into acting, what action did you take to actually become a professional actor? Did you go out and look for an agent right away, or did you just start hitting the streets to see if you could get parts? Which way did you go?
That's a great question because it doesn't. It's funny when it doesn't apply to this era as well. So, yeah, I got out of school and I was, oh man, what am I going to do? Should I join the military? Should I do this? There was a few things I was thinking. I didn't know. I was kind of lost and, searching for Buddha and Jesus. But a friend of mine, Doug Baldwin, the guy I did that with, and our friend Tom Bray, now he's teaching, I think, in Portland as well. But he had a really good career, and he found his niche and wanted to teach kids in grammar school. Favor. There's a theater group. Larry Pontillo, our friend, Connecticut, and they're doing. I just need you to. I said, no, I don't know if it's good, if it's too easy. I'm getting away from acting. I really got to search whatever the hell. I didn't know if it was okay. Is that a thing to do? Whatever I was thinking. And 76, we know you can sing and do dialects, so we need you to do the Scottish Colonel. So there was a small orchestra, and in that orchestra playing the flute was my Starr, who was a music major. 2 years later, we were married by a Zen master, and years later, our friend Joe Janito. And 11 years after we married and 3 kids, my wife. Now it's important I tell you all that because and now that's why I'm sitting here. And my latest incarnation is in Orange County, where she works, etc., Seattle. So the reason I'm telling you that is we're back in the so-called real world, and I married what do you do with a drama degree? I'm looking at the fire department. I'm looking, all the character actors then seem to be 50 years old, all the detectives and mob guys. I said, so I wound up doing 2 summers of that summer stock, and we got married. And I'm sorry that it's taken so long, but I said, what the hell am I doing? And I'm making 100 taxes at Jack LaLanne Health Spa because whatever skills I had, I didn't have
Jack LaLanne.
It was called Jack.
I haven't heard that name in about 30 years, Jack LaLanne.
Well, it became Bally's. I have funny stories. I'm a harsh sitcom about my experience. And Jack LaLanne was great. He was so, and too long story to tell you because I pitched the whole story and burn it out. And it was a fascinating time. I worked downtown where mayors, again, all whatever, who wasn't there, and it was right by the World Trade Center. And was one day I remember saying, I'm supposed to be pretty good at this. I think by now with our oldest Cassie, and I'm going, it's got to be a way I went to this business. It's a great question. And I started doing a showcase, but a good thing, his own agency still was working commercially. That was start making, so to answer that, you make alumni contacts. I tell people that if they've trained or they've gone or school like Columbia College, not university, you get in touch, hook up with people. That was one thing. But the crazy thing, again, but I started doing theater. And when I was at Jack LaLanne's, they used to sneak me out because the one downtown went through a series of tunnels. It was really interesting. Go on stage and be doing the 16th century play, The Alchemist, and get to a play called Vesper's Eve, which a lot of people came out of, and that's where I started getting my work. Showcases I started doing, free theater, and so believe it or not, I tried to play football with this. It makes no sense. Minor league team, Jet Great was helped me out, and one day I said, "There's a movie called Semi Tough," and he said to me, "Why, are you an actor?" I didn't get in it, and Brian Dennehy, God rest his soul, played the center. I said, "Yeah, I read the book. It's great." He said, "A lot better actor than a football player, Matt." But I had to get that out of my system. I played we try. My wife put up with everyone put up with my whatever. Decent. I did that in the NFL, and got that. You try everything. We have that luck of things. To say, hey, yeah, I think I'll go. That's another movie, by the way, but with which is a script. But Matt said, "Are you kidding me? I had a ruptured spleen, almost died. What do you want to play flight from Miami?" So I said, "Okay." He sent me to Cynthia Ragland, God rest her soul, African American, real classic agency, and Art Shamsky from the Mets, and I started getting commercials through them, and I worked different jobs, clubs. I did a stand, and he had all these bodyguards, Stallone, and they put me to work at the Copa, which is a fun. I was very diplomatic. Let's put it that way. I wasn't right. So what happened was you start meeting people, and then want to send you out, Gary Epstein, and so I kind of got loose of being signed, and about 2 years later, a year later, there was a movie that's never seen the light of day, and they were looking, this ex being a manager, and they were looking. They tried to get Merlin Olsen and Alex Karras about Commodore Perry, and there was a character, Chief Bosun, who had to have red hair, and he was the wrestler. He had to look his opposite. He knew Timmy Murphy, God rest his soul, who was on Dallas. He played my nephew. All of a sudden, another story, but they tracked me down, and Art Shamsky said, "Wait, Mike Starr would be good. I don't know where he's working now, where he is, but he'd be." And I wound up in Japan. We had moved back into my housing project, and over a lot of things, he's produced so many things. Oh my God! But not only to be with Japanese iconic people like Toshiro Mifune, Sonny Chiba's flying down. I got to hold on. I got this gigantic red hair. My life I had dealt with weight, but they actually, when I was at Jack, they said, "But you got to gain 30 pounds. You got to gain weight in the sense you have to be bigger." And it's been, and people like Barbara Clayman, this great casting director, said, when first someone said, "No, you're not enough. You should do stunts." And when I came back, the weight gain, which took, they kept saying, "You're losing weight." I said, "Oh Christ! I mean, how big do you want me to be?" And that's another funny story. And he was a judo guy or whatever. That was whack. Came back, she said she didn't recognize. She said, "Hey, you're a perfect character." I said, "Oh God." For years, but basically, I would say you started meeting people. People hung out at the Edison Hotel. They let you started, and I supported myself with ourselves with different jobs, and my wife worked different jobs. Even then, finally got into undergrad years later at Queens College, from where I grew up, and a lot of it was meeting Gloria on a commercial. He said, "We're doing this play, and you would be perfect as Dutch Schultz." like an off-Broadway hit at the time. This guy, Danny Aiello, was doing oh God, also from Married with Children.
Ed O'Neill.
What's that?
Ed O'Neill.
Yeah, Eddie. Yeah, Ed. So I'm sorry, baseball player as well, and excellent, as you know, actor. And this guy, Bill Sargent, had all this going, and we were going to be the next thing. It never happened, but in a 40 that it was like everyone, those guys from those shows came to see us, Danny and Eddie. Two of us had children born while we were doing it. We were backed up, and my son John was born. I made it back in time in my scrubs, and hey, wise guy, what are you doing? Trying to steal my sidewalk act, Mikey? I said, no, I just came from the hospital. We just had a boy who was born, wife program. So, which influenced my wife's decision to do a lot of. That's my short answer. I would say now the advice I give to people. There's so many people. That's what's so crazy. You would go in. I went to school and trained and all this, and then say, "We're getting a real person." What does that mean? Say, I think they think I would get rid of my accent when I had to, and add accents. And I think Frankie, who I met at Hofstra, who's an awesome teacher and had a really wonderful career, and now he coaches me. But it's really funny. Their business called Real People. So I'd be going out after taking 5 years in theater. You'd go in for, we've got an X whatever, X cop X or the mob whatever. Okay, is where was I up for when I sit there and talk like myself, and helped a lot. But that play, Lou DiGiamo, God rest his soul, was a big casting director, and he saw me in it. He said, "You were great." He told me at the restaurant, we got what we could afford if we went out, and he said, "You're great, but you're not going to get in the Friedkin was doing this movie." And then all of a sudden, there was a character I know dropped out of it, playing it with Joe Spinell. I barely know how to drive a car. It's another funny story. I had to do a lot, but it was called Cruising, one of the most controversial films. Now it's a classic. It was a con, but they were demonstrating. It's my first job in New York. The year before, and now I'm back down to semi-fighting weight, and with William Friedkin, who I have to say, and he was a riot, but he taught me. It's like I had to go. I was in the drama department. Miriam Tulin, Dr. Tulin, was my main mentor from the group theater. I don't know. She put me up in front of the class in freshman year, not to put me down. Now this young man in front of us, Michael, he doesn't need to go to college now to learn how to act. Doesn't need to be in a university. If she had directed the first like live TV show, and she said and I think they used the word natural. I plead wrong, but she said he could work on film right now. He's fine because he wants to be in the theater, so we're going to have to teach him how to act in the stage. That's great. When I came out, I found myself auditioning for the commercial. So you want to take away Augusto, do you? And I'm like, they're looking at me. I see the commercial. So I was at Equity. I gave my middle name was my mother's maiden name, but had to drop that. It was way too half Irish. So I remember there was a commercial actor. Short theater. I didn't mean that, but he was known, and he was teaching class. So I took 4 classes, saw myself on screen, and then when I audition for Friedkin, I would just say, "Yeah, man. Yeah, that's it. That's it, man. It's Spencer Tracy, man." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, all right, got it." And so many more demonstrations, and people thought certain moments. It was in Village Voice, which was a real activist paper, that would make actually the Simpsons came out in that first story. But every week they would say, "This is what they're shooting. This is going to be offensive." Thought it was going to bring about a lot of violence towards the gay community. It's never happened. They didn't know the nature of the story, and it was very specific. There were demonstrations, blowing whistles, everything. And of course, I would mess up car scenes and things that freaked me every time on the West Side Highway. But we were out one day, and a guy started, "You like wearing that on the loudspeaker? You like wearing that? Hi, big guy. Love the way you drive uniform. Hey, does it make you feel powerful?" I'm saying, "This is my first job." And here I was. I'm like for freedom for everybody. Helping this guy's pick. I had the whole uniform in those days. He's making a comment because in that period the captain had the edge in the uniform. I'm saying, "I'm just trying to drive here." They were doing all this yelling, and it can be disturbing. Nothing that way. They don't teach you that in acting class. So I'm sitting there. At the same time, Apocalypse Now is coming out. Nell and Bill Friedkin are talking about Brando, and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to enter in the conversation, and they're yelling, and finally, I never told this story, I don't think, completely. William Friedkin looks in at me, and I said something about, "Hey, French Connection," with something that chasing me. He goes, I was just talking to him that I like to see. He goes, "Now, right now, Gloria, you are Spencer Tracy, man. I hope you're appreciating this. You are Spencer Tracy, man. You hear me?"
Oh boy.
Yeah. I'm like sitting there like, "There's no Vietnam now. There is no this." He's giving me all this stuff. It's not what it's that's the future. And he gave me this great, actually turned out to be a great talk. There is no voices. It's just you, man. The Zen master. Whatever. Whatever. You're a Zen warrior. You're Spencer Tracy. The weird thing is him that day. I mean, it's very, very hip now to talk about presence. I mean, not that I never knew. In yoga classes and every other thing, charging you to tell you which is good, stay in the moment, which they taught you in acting classes, right? But he was basically telling me not only to focus on the moment and what you're doing, which was a lesson, I thought, but basically that a camera's like a microscope on you. Those scenes we did, and he really wanted us, very still, not real. I mean, I have energy, but it's like Kevin Costner.
Right.
He said, "All I do is stand and deliver." And he says, "Always try to find moments in a film." And I think that can be a great essence of film acting, like Michael Caine talks about, to be nothing. I mean, then you get a film where everybody's talking like this. It doesn't mean that he was trying to tell me to trust and listen. Does that make sense to anyone?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cooper, what do you think?
Absolutely.
It's an
Yeah.
actor, and
Right.
on stage, on live stage, someone yells out something stupid at you, whatever, you have to
Right.
deal with people. I've gone to deal with that. I guess and you learn that from live theater too. You can't be thinking, "Oh, I missed that lineup," or "This one didn't get." You gotta, it's like a concertina. You just got to keep going. You can't think, "Oh, I screwed that up." So I think that's what I meant by not always successful at maybe, but I think he taught me a lot to go with all his training. I tell people, forget everything you learned and start
Right.
in a way. It's like the rehearsal process, right? The rehearsal's over. Now you got it. Let's just show up. That's my story, and I'm sticking
Absolutely.
to it.
All right, Linda, you're up. Go
Okay,
ahead, Linda.
Mike. So I know that Phil Goldfarb gave you some amazing advice when he told you how to apply for acting jobs, something about a golf course. I want to hear that again out of your mouth.
My God, did I say this sometime like that or tell this? He is one of the best. He was another person I lost touch with. Phil worked everything. He was an AD. He was an AD, I think. He worked in Boston. He was. I can't even repeat some of the things. Great. And every now and then, I met him through Vince Scavelli. I came. Arthur Penn was doing this play in New York. He said, "I should have had you do it." It was a hit in New York. Polish, lack of a better, KGB agent. It was about this Polish writer and his wife, actress, and got stuck in the Lower East Side now, and different on the big stage at the Taper. But Vince and I, Vince Scavelli, everyone.
Yeah, he's that tall guy
Also,
yeah.
Yeah, he lost him to cancer, but he wound up doing cooking. Let's say he lived in Sicily. He's from Brooklyn, and just to go with him, I told him walking around on the weekends and matinees, it was like I told him, that he'd get swarmed by all sorts of interesting people. He was having these. Then there were just warehouses. He'd take me to hang out with all these, and I met Phil. So Phil and I, somebody kept in touch, and every night I call him up for advice. So now I'm starting to get, with Goodfellas, The Bodyguard. Hey, pretty cool. And I auditioned for the movie The Client. So I had kids, and my wife was a resident about the early 90s. So we were living in the Bronx because it was a medical school wasn't, and then she got Joanne got a residency. The reason I'm telling you that, I learned the hard way that it's really not a good way to fly. And it happened again one other time, to fly in and do an interview, an audition. And I read the book. I think I upgraded myself to business. I think I flew in on my own, as I remember. And Joel Schumacher, was it Joel? And he was directing. I get it right. He wound up directing. I remember I'm really feeling this thing. Finally coming around. Wow, I did this, I did that. Mad Dog and Glory, David and I were getting a really good things happened on that film, but it was such a great script. And, here I am with Robert De Niro. He's saying, well, he's playing this and Bill Murray's playing, but I'm feeling pretty good. Robert De Niro was so great too. So, and I got to play a very different character. But it was loosely translated to Bodyguard, but it was different with Bill. And I imagine working with all the people, Uma, Evan Baker, oh my God. So, I became friends on that. And he got NYPD Blue after that. And he was great. But I'm feeling good because it was something, I don't know, when it comes out right, it's Richard Price is right. We all, got certain responses, positive, but I'm saying I was feeling pretty good that got done. And I get on this plane, talk about all the wrong things you can do in an interview. Like on the director, and it's a little bit of it's good to be pompous about, the New York actor or this and that shit. I came out there instead of just shutting up like I'm not doing now. It's a good storyline. I mean, I've had funny interviews. I've had stuff where it just works out. Things where you're on the ceiling going, shut up. So anyway, I'll tell you what I did. I went to Phil right after it. Or somehow I hooked up because I was so upset. So I'm watching kids, I'm watching this, and I said, okay, last minute, I'll leave in the morning. At night, I forget him. And he was just really so nice. We go in there, and it's to play God in Memphis in the movie The Client. But it was one of those characters. I don't know if it was with Paul Sylvia this, and I'm trying to remember. So I'm sitting there. He goes, I want you to know, I think you're wonderful. All this stuff. Up, nod your head, say thank you. No. He goes, a whole group of kids, so many people from Santa Monica to see the movie The Bodyguard. I've seen so wonderful. Now, so what's the answer? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, right? Thanks. I said, oh, no. They tell you to sell yourself. No, the movie you've got to see is Mad Dog and Glory. Why I started doing that. So he said, oh, playing that. I was like Ralph Crandon. I went, a bodyguard?
Right.
He looked at me and he was so kind. He says, you're crazy. He said, well, bodyguard again. He said, you've done that now twice. So that would be right. I started going, no, I could do dialects. I could play a detective, play whatever. That's what sounds in my head. I said, oh, no, but I do all that. Then he goes, no, you don't need to do this. I want you to do down the road. You'd be great. You're so wonderful. You don't want to waste your time. Some resident. I got 3 kids. And, basically, that's what I'm hearing. So I told Phil, and I told him, like, what happened? And he said to me, he goes, did you go to your knees, Mikey? He said, okay. He said, okay. I think, said, what do you think the worst disease is right now? So it's the early. Is this all right to tell this story? This is great. I mean, this is what you wanted, I think. Because
Yeah.
So I said, well, I would say AIDS right away. I'd say AIDS and friends and this and that. No. And he didn't mean that rude, like, no, he wasn't limited. No, he wanted to make a point. He said, it's unemployment in LA. People all sit in their cars. I get on a bus once a week just to remember who I am. He goes, the one thing that I think he said, what's the greatest fear? And paraphrasing him wrong. What's the scariest disease in Hollywood, in LA? And, he said, now it's unemployment. He said, so people, they can smell desperation. When you that said, the old theater line is never let them see you sweating. And they see that they feel that they're He said, I want you for now, Los Angeles, when you go in on a meeting. This is what Lynn. So when you go on a meeting, don't care. It's like you're playing golf in a country club. I want you to walk. Can I join you all? And they say, no, we have our foursome. He goes, and if I play through? And that's just the way Phil did it. And say, whenever I was successful, it was thanks to Phil Golf teaching me that, because he said they can smell desperation. They fear they're going to catch it from you.
Right.
Again, I hope I didn't set that up wrong about.
No, Mike, you're
He said, "What?
You're knocking it out of the park today."
Yes,
you're knocking it out of the park.
Okay, so Phil, and I lost touch with the, between moving around the projects, and you lose touch with them. Not that you don't care, you try to keep in touch with people. And say, it was like wisdom every time you talk to him. I was doing a voiceover audition, innovative artist that we were with, and there were two places where you did the studio. It's where you and directs. I ran into him again. I said, Phil, now this is like 16 years. I had to be. I'm trying Jersey, and my wife had this big position, and Lehman Brothers was best program, and Newark, and everything fell out. So my wife had done work in places like Uganda and the Dominican, but there was a group arts foundation. It's important I tell you this. He said that and Joanne, I think to teach, she's too humble to say yes, I was teaching, but also that operate. And I had a chance to turn in mileage and meet her in Beijing, where I had friends and this and that, who was in the hotel business. He was going to set us up in Shanghai, and Stanley Tang with him on a TV show. I was going to hook up, but it was a tremendous experience. It was right in the middle of pilot season. Whoa, you can't leave during pilot season. It's like January. And first of all, my friend Captain Cranky, he said, you got to go. Any way you can get there, go. But if you go there, he said, make sure, he said, you need to see the people that are going to pay. So something like that. That was his interesting Brooklyn observation, the Professor Cranky said to me. But I ran into Phil Goldfarb. I said, Phil, I got this chance to go to China. And I think, I can't, 08? No, 08, yeah, 08 around. I mean, so it was, I said, I've been a few places in South America, but I've never been to China. And he said, you got to go. Have this chance again. I mean, so far it's been true.
Right.
You have to, the agents, they tell you, whoever, I'm not saying no one blocked me because I had a good relationship. So, but, they tell you in the business. And I think he mentioned, was it one on, was it on Family, the one that Eddie O'Neill's on, where she was in South America or something, like just came or whatever. He said they went and found her, or they went this. He goes, right, if they really want work, but
right.
you imagine if you pass up this situation. So, they wanted me for a pilot, or whatever. It's a life change. He said, how life changing if someone really wants. And again, he gave me that advice. You can't always, okay, I'm here. What do you need? And Vince had warned, actually, he warned me that it tended to happen more in LA, that, in New York, wow, we got to bring you out, we got to convince you. But if you were out there, they went, right. Okay, we got you here. Anyway, I don't know how I got it, but that was Phil. Always had got it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was talk to I'm the pain in the ass. You use a few ethnic lines, producer that you're all. I'm the cox that you're all make this work. Boston teams as he went up,
right?
Especially in that time. But Phil is appreciate you mentioning him.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, let me ask you a question. I go back with you to a movie that was. It was a big movie in the 80s, but that was my first exposure to you. It was called The Last Dragon. And you played this bodyguard type again, and you had this funny line in it that you said throughout the whole thing. You said, pigs don't eat it because they don't have, and you just kept...
No, you got it mixed up. Cat's Eye, I only had that line. Last Cadian's brother, the Great White Hopeless, Rocco, and it was Motown's first film ever. And Faith Prince and Chris Murney. I mean, it was real. The three of us were together a lot with, and Timac. So many one that was a lot of fun. That was about the Timac where everything was reversed, and it was African American Lee, and they had one guy went on to be a big dancer, correct? The Chinese guys wanted to be rappers. The Chinese Americans. It was last round of fun if you look that up. No, in Cat's Eye with Ken McMillan, there was a trilogy, and I had that big curly hair, and there was 3 stories. This was the lead, and Ken McMillan plays this guy who makes Robert Hayes makes him walk around the building, and Dutton, who had done all this theater, Rock Dutton was his name, and we called him, God bless him, been on screen before. And we were at the same age. I used to say, just say whatever you want. Just say, are you serious? I said, yeah, just come up with it. And he tried to get me in the Broadway show of Ma Rainey's at one point. A little too young at the time, I believe. But in Cat's Eye, all I had to say was, say anything else. I just said, hay is for horses. Hay is for horses, for cows. Pigs don't eat it because they don't know how all the time. Robert Hayes and knock him out, right? And something like that. So on the window, which we did in a studio, they built these studios in North Carolina. I think it was it's another great story. I did a King Kong's wife or something with Linda Hamilton. But I had a scene there, but I had to be God in King Kong when I think she and remembered me a few years later. So cool. But
wow.
When he's walking around, I had to lean to the window every time he tried to sneak in. And that's all I did. My hair was like out to here. Had a great time in North Carolina with I'm trying to think of his last name. I bet you Cooper don't too if I said his name. And a great guy. And he had a wonderful time down there. And I don't know. That was another one. I hung out and we talked about acting. And he was really interesting. He was a very unique guy. He played these characters. He wasn't quite. He played them. Talked to me. One of the things he taught me that he taught his acting class was we were partaking in those days. He said, and having coffee. He said, "Don't be afraid to lose in a scene." I said, what the hell does that mean? In other words, so many times, especially with ad-libbing with certain types of people, so people want to be the hero or they want to win in the scene. Or they want to, hey, I overpowered that. And, not to be. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But he taught me that.
Absolutely.
But I mean, of course, Charles Sutton went on to have his own series and this and that, and being Spike Lee's Moving the Bus, that one about the Million Man March. And Robert Hayes was really wonderful to be with. We had some nice times, and the studios were so new and like put together. You had to stop when a plane came over. Hey, this metal like thing we found. Oh, okay. And Fred Lerner was the stunt when he helped me. It was to look like it was way up, and it was kind of, just a couple of stories up. What had to go out on that? I'm trying to remember. It was very simple. Yeah, it was three shorts. It was a comedian, Sal. He did one in Vegas. There were 3 things: quitting smoking or something. Yeah, Cat's Eye. And
okay.
A cat goes through. Cat figures somehow in every scene. I think in Oz, the cat was on the. Well, he was on the. He made him walk out on the ledge and everything, and I went to Mr. Mercedes,
Oh
Jack
wow.
Bender. I did with many wonderful people. We played the mom on Two and a Half Men, and there was so many people in
Oh
that.
cool. Very cool. Very
Fella
cool.
from Penny. Yeah, I did the second to do some things, but oh god, I'm going up on the guy from Penny Dreadful was so great. Do standard speech like they came out of the Midwest. It's so funny when you work with
Right.
Italians, Irish, and you hear them, you see them in screen, then you meet them in person. It's more like my bodyguard, and I'm like, what? With that, we were just doing. I don't know how you're the evil guy and whatever, which I love.
Right. Coop.
So, Mike, what was it like on set on Dumb and Dumber? Because the Farrelly brothers, and then you have Jeff Daniels, and you have Jim Carrey, who are so different. I mean, Jeff Daniels is trained and a guitarist, and just this actor. And then you have Jim Carrey. I mean, it must have
And a
been
writer.
insane. I mean, what was that like on set?
It was worlds I had. Not that they didn't. I'm not saying they didn't get along, but Jim had you here. I hope it's okay. I mean, Jim would do constant things, and he just super well known. So we'd be at a 7-Eleven somewhere in Utah, Colorado, or somewhere. You have this let me cool. He'd be doing things. And Jeff, in the beginning, would just like be in his own world. It would seem, nothing wrong with that. So I got that's the way he was. Jeff, when he was with the Farrelly brothers, we were at lunch or something. If you talk hockey and sports, because the Farrelly brothers had big hockey connections by the Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame hockey player Cam Neely. Jeff would come out but he wasn't a cut up on the set, So I hung out with Jimmy times, and he was always funny. And he'd see me in public. I could be getting this, sneak in and go, "You are such a liar," and go away. And people say, "What the hell was that? Who was that?" Or a story about something in his family, and he'd imitate it, but he'd say something like, "I love you, you fucking loser." Something on my language. It was a takeoff on something, and then he'd smile and run away. Love you, Mike. And they'd say, "Well, what was that?" Or I could know who he was. So he was always doing things pretty interesting, and invite me over. We'd watch the playoffs run, and he would tell me outrageous stories, childhood, this and that, and really, Jeff. The way I really broke the ice with Jeff. One day he's sitting there, and we're waiting this thing, and then he goes off and leaves, and I'm just sitting in the middle, and I start gobbledygook, ridiculous conversation that made no sense. I started throwing out. I said, "You got me covered there. What you got me with a cowboy hat?" I started doing West Coast stunt coordinator. So I was friends with. Now I want you to up there at 45-degree angle, and my guy's gonna do the kick. Now listen, wide angle, and I'm just nonsense. It made no sense what I was saying, right? And I would keep doing this like he was asleep, waiting for the scene. He stayed focused that way, I guess. And I just went on a rant about, okay, I think you need to cover me. Just all this stuff. That was just making it up. And finally, it looked like he was in a deep sleep. Goes, "Shut the fuck up." He started, "What the hell are you talking about? What are you doing?" And it was so funny that a lot with each other, and we were laughing. And he was doing almost did it, the Circle and the Square, but he has his own theater, Purple Rose, and he was in Purple Rose, Cairo, in Michigan, and surrounding the 4 states in that area. Some have been made films, but the theater, the place had to be real that referenced that area. Does that make sense? It somehow could be the one he did about
Right.
what was water there and the lakes or whatever. But he did, the band. What was it? The whale? I forget. He said, I'm writing this play with Dam or Steven Seagal wants to expand his look so about Jesus. It's a poor character. And he said, I have a director, I'm trying to remember, an agent, the stunt coordinator. He said, can you come to the trailer? And he was just like, he was trying to stay on his own, and he golfed. He had stopped drinking for whatever, not that he in trouble or anything like that. It was just he wanted to stop, and because he would go to hockey games. He just stopped. So he wasn't drinking. So he said he didn't want to go out, which is rude or mean or anything. We spent time together and lunch, but he said, can you come into the trail? And he just really got heavily into golf. But I'm writing this thing. Could you just give me some tomatoes used? And I went in there and I did. And he was hysterical. We laughed all the time. Really.
Oh, that's cool.
Work with it was separate relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all got along. It's just that there were different worlds, and of course Cam Neal. But I mean, there were different people I knew on it. Crew, the editor,
right.
And I babysat the editor's kids one night. And his wife, we watched hockey or something. Yeah, does that answer that?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What create with something,
right?
Live and going along with it was and trying to stay in peak. Just it's hard when you're dying and they're looking in your face, going, "Pills are good."
Right.
Actually, a great movie, great comedy. It's called Dumb and Dumber, so you don't have to think, "Oh, it's stupid" or whatever. But
yeah,
it's had a big effect. It was very, especially even in hospital visits, it really had a great
what
would you call street cred or whatever, with people.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah. I think the movie, and
right.
super talents in it, and Duff was a lot of fun, and the Farrelly brothers don't forget where they came from. They have more people they know, and get more reference things for people.
Right.
Can't say enough, and I would give Bob a hard time, Bobby, and Peter. He'd call me like we could be sitting there having fun, partying in the hotel room, and then he'd say, "I got to go to sleep, Mike," and I'd get a call a half an hour later. Excuse me, my name is Martin Wiener. I'm from Providence. I'm a pharmaceutical salesman. We're too loud in that room, and I'm answering. And he goes, "Mike, it's me, Peter."
Oh my God, that's funny. Hey, Mike, let me ask you a question real quick. Your body of work.
I don't answer. I still haven't answered. I don't know how to answer in like 2 sentences. To a monastery or something.
No. Don't worry about it. Your body of work is so impressive, like all your movies. But there's one guy that you worked with, and I know it was only a short scene, and I just wanted to get your take what it was like working with him. What was it? This would be somebody that I would have loved to interview had he not passed away. What was it like working with John Candy?
Oh, wow. That short scene, it's funny, because Coop will tell you in acting. What do you mean? It was all day. We had 2 days to do it in a fight. I can't tell you. When everyone like Saturday Night Live, which I did when, and George Carlin and everything. But I remember I was just married, but I discovered Second City TV. And I worked with every person. I got to work Joe Flaherty, Dave Thomas, this and that, between U.S. and Canada. Here was John Candy. And I got to tell you, he had, I don't in an obnoxious way, he had like these, whatever, assistants, but it was the most eclectic of all backgrounds. And everyone adored him. And he was so kind. Obviously, had whatever happened to him physically, I'm not sure. But it'd be a cliche to say larger than life. But we had so much fun. And my favorite, like I would tell Joe Flaherty, favorite Second City bits that I would watch with others. We would just laugh. and imitate. And there was one, oh God, I had lived some of that. I made up some of it. We went at it. We played with really a special talent, and people won't realize how much he changed filmmaking. He made it possible for younger people to play young people.
Oh, yeah.
And also John Hughes, from a good friend of mine, a Chicago Teamster. John Hughes would stand up for people, whether they were not John in this case, other film people that were pushy stars. So John was just what he was. John Hughes was like 20th century, whatever. John would do what's right and stand up. It was very interesting. And John was fun. He gave me little insights into that John Hughes. But John Candy, exactly where my friend Frank Zuli, the writer on The Sopranos, he called me up. We were living in the Bronx, I remember. And I don't know if my wife was still in. Oh, yeah. She hadn't gotten out of med school yet. And I let me out. It gave me a lot of money to loop. When he punches me in the nose, I have to go. They brought me out for that. And I brought my friend. And there was John Candy, who couldn't have been any nicer. But we'd be on the set. You're just playing. When you're with anyone from Second City, they're traveling like some people, but you really know you're with.
Yeah, a lot of legends came at it at SCTV.
With people that my friend Mike Haggerty, we lost a few months ago. Super. I mean, and they translate right into the film very easily and whatnot. If that were really with special people, but here it was John Candy, who I idolized. I told him I'm not well known to everybody. Was he did a Tom? Did Tom Bosley, remember Tom Bosley?
Happy
Bosley
Days, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tom Bosley narrated this show, and they would show black and white movies, and Tom would be, he'd be watch this character, watch what he's doing here, and it's a very special. Say he went on to do this, and this was a style. He would do, and it would be fun. John did it. Second City did it. Fake black and white things, a courtroom scene, something, and everyone would go like they were going to grab a gun. He goes, and they would really, Candy would be narrating. Now watch this particular scene of overacting, right? And it was a very funny thing, if I'm not explaining it right. But the reason I'm telling you that was we were doing this scene together, and 2 hours later, he goes, now watch this scene, and he did it for me. He goes, Mike Starr is really a ham in this scene. And I just lost it, So,
oh man, that's amazing.
People and creative, and there I am in Winnetka, high-end neighborhood, that using his high school had his high school. I'm hearing a sound from somewhere. It must be his. I'm sorry. I thought I heard something. Sorry.
That's all right. Must be the vodka in that coffee cup.
No. Oh yeah. No. Never. No. Sir.
Just kidding.
Tea and PG Tibbs was in it. That's where all this energy's coming from. That was home. Tell you about this, and it was full of shit. No. There'd be no editing, but none of the people you mentioned, of course. But anyway, Toes, I have to answer you. I know, no, not Vog. I want to clear that say it to the public right now. But actually, I know people used to do it. Jackie Martin, Jackie Gleason one time had this show, and I remember one time that's good coffee. He goes chock full of booze. He said it like How did I find some
Guys, I gotta jump real quick. I gotta jump. Michael, it was
Okay.
great seeing you.
Oh,
He's got to go.
I,
He's
I
got
gotta
to
go.
do his honeydew chores.
No, I got stuff to do. But I'll
sorry.
give you a text so you can come back on Cooper Talk. And thank you, Carlo. Good seeing you.
Thank
And
you.
everyone,
You
happy
got it,
holidays.
Coop.
I hope I did answer your questions okay.
You did. You did
You
great.
did.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, guys.
You got it.
Thank you.
So, Mike,
the thing I want to tell you about John, we went. Coop's gone. So we had to do a fight scene. Actually, we were some ad lib these great lines that John Hughes had written. And I mean things came to me. Man, what do you that one? That was I could explain probably, but it was my first time in Chicago. He had Bob Elmore was his stunt double, and eventually after John passed away, dropped the weight again. But Bob was a really good guy, a judo guy, and this and that. And I had a stunt double, and we were going to do a fight scene where me and John, they cut it. John Hughes brought me in quickly for Baby Stay Out, and he said I should have never cut this out. I think he said that to me, and he gave me it's like at one point I'm crawling on the ground, and John Candy takes me in the ass with it, beat me on the butt, and I'm crawling to the mouse, and he played it to the song, "Hey, birthday," and we did this really cool fight scene. But what happened? The stunt doubles were supposed to do it in one place. John was filming somewhere else, Chicago. I wound up living there. My wife worked at the University of Chicago. I wound up filming there a lot for whatever reason, and it happened. And we want to get ready to do this. So you just have to see me and John like hustle. It's my stunt double. He's got the flu and a virus, and he's so sick he can't. And I did the Mike Starr bluff. I said, "Hey, I can do it myself." He goes, "Thanks." And what? Picking up the check, what? And so there I am with Bob, who was very careful around. He had falls. I remember having a bruise here, maybe getting hit or something like that. And careful, great. And they wound up cutting the scene. But John didn't say enough about him. He's just
right. I would
so
imagine,
loved.
yeah.
And we're very, out that it was a constant joy on that set. I can't remember.
Good. I would imagine so. I didn't think it would be anything. Linda, go ahead.
Mike, I know that you have two really strong strengths in your acting. One is your ability to go in and out of a scene, and another is your ability to ad lib. So, for those of us in entertainment and in life, those are great skills in life. Explain how long those took and how you got those abilities.
Interesting question. First of all, the in and out of a scene, that's interesting. You mean like how to end off? People thank me on that.
So I think that Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder were the ones when working with them.
That's I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for reminding. So what had happened was best experience I ever had. Gene got lymphoma on the second time we big time, and it was one of the great. You couldn't wait to get to the set. And if you look at the cast, Jerry, the people that he had on that, and especially the opportunities for women. I mean, the parts were just Agatha Christie style. And I think at one point A&E wanted to make it a weekly, and he's saying that I think he wanted to do it every 6 months or so. But there was so much fun, and Gene never was like stories about young Frankenstein. He was always very measured and that, and we got the dinner. Our wife, my wife got to visit and this and that. And the first copy, an original copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, by the way.
Yeah.
And Gene would tell me stories like how they almost notebooks, that happened. But he said, the big thing, and a lot of us think young Frankenstein, and he directed it, but he said from him. But one thing he said was how to get into a scene and get out of it. I want to. It's something that's hard to describe, but especially editors would appreciate it. And a lot of times directors have to come up here and say cut to or this and that. But it's almost, I think, would say, putting a cap on a scene, but having a segue into the next one. Does that make one up into it? And it was so strange because I worked with Nia Vardalos and whatever on a movie called John Corbett, I Hate Valentine's Day, from Big Fat Greek Wedding. And, it was like being in school and people gave me a hard time, but actually thanked me because she had Rachel Grech, all these people, she said, oh, God, they're all top shelf people. And she said, I just want you to know about ad-libbing. It's great, but also I have to say, I want to sing about Mike Starr, that he helps me get in. He manages to put a tag on a scene or something like that gets you out of the scene and helps me. I can explain it because sometimes I'm not sure myself. Ad-libbing, I'll tell you where the first time I really learned it, I think, was I got in the movie The Natural, clowning around. I was in a show that was a hit off Broadway. We died in one night on Broadway because it was too big. It was kind of a blessing for me because I went out and auditioned for and I said, I'm not going to get in this. I'm not a baseball player. But I clowned around. It just worked out for me. There was a fellow making trainer, ex-cop who was Sonny Grouch's brother. He wound up in it. He played our equipment. Me and him, we'd given up. I clowned around because I said, I just want Barry Levinson, the guy who did Dinah, to remember me the next time. So many times. That's how you can get jobs, You'd be surprised how that's worked in a lot of ways, But ad-libbing, I came up there. I was about a week late. So I was doing something. I can't remember. I'm out there. Line drives are flying. He says, Mike Starr, get off. He says, I don't want you getting hurt. He said, we're the character for you. And there's a lot of great stories behind that. He said, but I want to let you know, it's going to be, the film. He was honest with me. He said, I need you to throw in something. Because, you're funny, this and that. And it wounded. He had to lip stuff while massaging Wilford Brim, this and that. He doubt stuff. And he said, it's not going to be any more than 10 to 30 seconds. To me, I want you to think in terms of just throwing in something. Every now Robert Redford's first time he's coming in, who was just awesome in every way. But I really want a quick insult. And I did it low-key. And when he walked in, so what I said, oh, here comes another brilliant find from our scouting chain. That's what I want, So not everything made it in there. I did it on Spike Lee's ad-libs that worked out great, and there's others that didn't fit, or people would say later on, like they did this Spike, how could you not put in Mike Starr's time? What are you talking about? He's saying we use it as code for the next 3 or 4 films. Spike, how could you not? I didn't think much, I didn't know, they had to cut things for different reasons, so who they had situation, but whatever reason. But I think, and I learned also Brimley and Richard Farnsworth on The Natural, because they would just come up with stuff and about it. Because there are really, I'm no genius, but there's people that living or they want to make themselves look good. Hey, your sister's hey, you owe me $5. Whatever. Okay, great. Hey, you're a meatball. Whatever.
Right. But Mike, you seem like such a natural at it. You seem like you don't have to put any. You remind me, like even before you got into acting, you remind me of the guy that would hang out at the bar and make and like everybody laugh.
I was and certainly when I got to play football or in different situations, really funny people. Growing up in a project on the benches, the storytellers, I talk way too. And sometimes when I would take other people's ad libs, it doesn't always work right. Joe Montana, we met on Offbeat, great setup ad lib, and because I asked him, I said, what could I do in this situation? And Dennis Farina, who I adored, and Joe would really set me up with him. I'm fortunate to work with him, and he's a friend, and I know you had him on the show, but I'm the guy. I'm not always the class cut up, but I'll have that one line. People like my brother Bo and my friend Frankie could be doing boom, boom. I'm like a pinch hitter. I come up with something. So Scorsese would ask me sometime over, and Thelma said, "Oh, Marty wanted that in. It made 3 cuts, but it was just you'll see," because he would laugh. My brother said he's laughing so hard. My relationship with him and that scene, the Air France one. Well, I had talked to this detective said, told me, so you kind of put it all inside when you have someone like Robert De Niro, Robert De Niro throwing me softballs. He wasn't the security guy. He was the air cargo supervisor, but I had read that. Nick Pileggi, he said, you wrote those acts. And from talking to people, and I just kind of put it in my own words, to me, like the Commandant. And he'd say, Commandant? I said, yeah, it's 1968. It's the Air France. It was Lufthansa. That was 10 years later. But, in that too. But, Heroes and the World War II movies and Height of the Vietnam War. And we were minding those movies, Great Escape, Solid. I love it, Mike. Keep it in, It wasn't something. Some of it happened improvised, but it was also well planned out with just us. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then save it for that, and you, if you know that, I guess, character well enough, that that it brings from that's a big thing. I was cut out of the La Cage aux Folles, the American one. You know what I'm talking about, with Robin Williams and with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane.
Oh, Birdcage.
Well, I was the last person cast. Ellen Lewis, my friend who put me in Goodfellas, she called me in there and said, listen, we don't have anyone in the film that knows Rob came out of the closet. And we want you to play this beer delivery guy whose son is a call him. You're a nice guy, but you'd be kind of an awkward guy. And he did the scene. It was great. And not often do I get this. The doc kept this. Mike Nichols wrote me this beautiful letter and said, oh, excellent. Elaine was right. Elaine May. Said, because what happened and it slowed down the comedy. So I'm sorry, we got to cut it out. I mean, you're sitting there going, how'd they do that to me? I mean, I rehearsed. I got to mention Nathan, it brought my relationship with him, deepened it, I'd say, in the sense that I had worked. He put me in The Odd Couple when Brad wanted to leave. I played Murray the Cop on Broadway, and he never took credit. He acted like he didn't do it. But,
oh, you did? You played Murray the Cop?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And I had to relearn how to be on stage again. And they also had Mike. So sometimes I was it took relaxing in that. And my friend, the professor, Captain Cranky, Brian Rose, came and watched about things acting, not directing, me, and Joe Mantel was a great director. He kept yourself relaxed, but it was hard. I think I eventually found days when it really worked better than others, but I did okay. But on you had Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. We were at lunch, and I think I threw one line. I just loved listening to them, but I think I said something funny when they Sacagawea. I'm trying to remember what they did. I was talking about how realistic, and I had about 10 minutes on it. But when we did the scene, it was really interesting. I had a line where with friends I said, "Oh," he goes, "Oh, Mazel Tov," because I said my son get a scholarship to Miami. He goes, "My son's going to MIT." And I said, "Boy, isn't it funny?" I'll never forget this line. Kids, our fathers wanted us to grow up to be president. Now, what we hope is, if I get this right, we hope that they don't become junkies or turn gay. No offense, right? Good line. And the next line later on, I wouldn't want Robin said, I wouldn't want my son to come here. I said, yeah, I know, it was really hard. Like I was just being stupid, in a certain way. Oh, does that make sense? He meant well. It just
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I was the evil guy or anything. It was like that, and then I started saying, it was a very sensitive scene. But in between that, he said, "That's right. I always hoped my son wouldn't become an Italian," and he just did all of these things like that.
Yeah.
And he was so great, such an absolute delight. God knows what goes on in people, what through and through no fault of their own. But I can't tell you, just heard all he did for Christopher Reeve. People that waited on him consistently in restaurants, or things he did, helped out comedians. I had a friend at a bar, but this lady was doing it for my friend Billy in Chicago, this bar, and Robin Williams came in and did like 40 minutes, and he just, it wasn't going to be announced away, but he did things to help people all the time, So anyway, that was. I'm not sure. I think some of it comes from like you said, of kind of a streetwise thing. I use lines because in one neighborhood bar, Cincinnati's bar, my old people in Queens who bookmakers and cops and who was in big. People would say, "What was it like to grow up in Goodfellas?" I said, "I didn't. I grew up in. You didn't see people, or eventually you'd meet people like that, but it was, which can be lost too when people play. When I was doing Vespers Eve to play Nation of the Crime Syndicate, there was this interesting guy who was friends with the director. This guy Theo, his name was, and he was like fit in with this whole group, as it were, but didn't care about it. But he said to me one time about different periods. But he said, one of the problems when they do these shows, you have to understand that some of these mobsters and fighters came out of neighborhoods, whether it was the east side of New York or Brooklyn, they came out of where some of the top comedians. He said, so they couldn't all be so sullen. They had to have a sense of humor, a very style. A lot of those guys would have that. So you see that happen in Goodfellas when he's like that, where there is so in ad-libbing, I would hear a lot of lines. I mean, I used a line with Offbeat, which, wow, they had so many people and it was quite five, and that's where I met Dennis Farina, came to visit Joe. And Jimmy Tolkien, and I comes, and I said, I got his. I said, all his money's tied up in cash. I said, and I had heard old timers say that, but I used it, right? Dennis Farina, when I laughed that day, we met, and then I got on this great show, Crime Story. And Mike Starr, I'll always remember that you said that great line, all of his money's tied up in cash. Sometimes you do it, and sometimes you hear ad libs that are they try to throw in what they think is really funny, and it's just cliched stuff sometimes. So, I know you gotta. It doesn't have to be perfect. I worked with Mr. Bean, the man who played Mr. Bean, but I did a short film.
Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, no one knew he was Stephen Wright. We did there was a short film award in I think '89. I was in 3 short films that were nominated, 2 that were story, a couple of interesting stories, but I remember standing there, this doorman who didn't have much say, and Stephen Wright is, and of course Rowan Atkinson runs away with Stephen Wright's girlfriend, stuff like that. Everything's going wrong for Stephen Wright. So this is back and forth. He's afraid to even talk to me. He has no confidence, right? Nice day. Just wonderful, Stephen Wright. So different, upset. From his, what he does with that one-of-a-kind, brilliant humor that he does. But anyways, Stephen's in front of me. And again, I used an old, must be a street thing, maybe an old cop thing that you'd hear. And now you've probably, he comes up to me, he goes, "Nice day, huh?" Something. I go, "All right, pal, that's it. Right? Simple thing, right? Hit the bricks, right?" He couldn't stop laughing. Back to me, couldn't do the same. I said, "It's an old expression. It just fit, I see a lot of these doormen, they come out of a whole different world, and whose cousin had that certain energy, and he thought it was so funny, and then he writes something. So I hope that answers it. Sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Mike. You're hitting home runs today. Don't worry about it. Linda, go ahead.
Right. Okay.
My last question for you, Mike, has to do with family. And I want to salute your brother who served in Vietnam.
And my oldest brother, John, was a Marine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Cop too. Yeah. Jimmy was in the 4th Division. Yeah. The infantry in Central Highlands.
Cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
And the other thing I want to know, I have to know, is your wife still does she still have the energy of a 20-year-old?
How did you heard that, huh? Heard me say that.
You had said it. That
Linda does her research, Mike. There's she don't miss nothing.
You talk so nicely about your wife all the time.
My idol. And I'm not the most perfect guy in a lot of ways, but I tell you, it wasn't for, I would still go, whoa. And the things she's done and still does, she's the opposite of me. Quiet, scented, and hopefully, I can't match her compassion, but no stone unturned still. It's like she's on call today. So I think I'd have to say, maybe there's a segue coming. I don't know. I can see where it's a couple of years that I just don't know how she does it. I say it to her, so we'll see. But she finds it to go out in the middle of the night still, but she's got this sense of humor with me, and I managed to say stupid things, and one day out, and she got back at 2 p.m, I think, or something down a while, and I just couldn't let this say, "I'm going to go in and da. You got this," or whatever, whatever it was, 2 p.m. I said, "So how you feeling?" I couldn't feel you okay. She goes, "Mike, I went out midnight last night. It's 2 p.m. She's a quiet, a New York City sense. Funny how, wherever you are, different people. Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks. I don't know how she does, but I really thank you for honor that you mentioned. And yeah, I admire. I don't know. The last night I said, asked me to get gift cards for people, family. I have to tell you that Kohl's was crowded. I said, but I have a feeling I'm not going to complain to you about being on trade places, but what you would.
Yeah, right. Oh, did you get like, do people recognize you in the Coles and say, "Oh my God"?
No, not at all. It's interesting where you get recognized. Also, I'm wearing glasses a lot of times. I wear this. No, I didn't have a giant hat. Whatever I was wearing, med hat. I you know where people recognition I get a lot from my said I wish you'd tell voiceover people, advertising people or animation films that because one of the funniest I love when I get recognized for being Dr. Starr's husband. That's my either nurses tell me, oh, she's not only the patient's favorite, but I've had people of various age, oh, saved my life, 20 this and that, or Santa Ana guy comes up and goes, dude, what were you doing at the John Wayne Airport? He had that it had. What are you doing? And you tell him, and all of a sudden, this young Mexican American lady goes, "You Dr. Starr's my mother, and that's my 4-year-old. She saved her life, da da da." And I put her on.
Oh,
She
wow.
knows they've had surgeons, kind of famous, say, admit to me, they called it they wouldn't know patients if they grit into them in the hallway. The family, not Joanne. I remember he said this to me years ago. He said, "Her to talk to the people. She knows how to talk to people." It's really funny, really interesting. She always took it as people would call holistic, whatever, but always everything involved in the history of the mother or this and that, and she's feeling this or she's gone through this and that. Not just a number or a figure, but which people come, oh, you can't do that, or oh, it's all. Even people who don't know that are ignorant, you just say, okay, that's fine, or oh, we would have time.
Yeah.
People say strange things, but most people, like Lynn, thank you for and I don't know where I got off on that, but it's like that I do cognition. I was in Chicago. My eldest daughter Cassie, my son-in-law, and my grandson pizza place that's been on Guy Fieri's. It's an interesting place, and I'll never forget. We went to a busy place, in South, something like that. Something I think it's on the southwest side, something. But anyway, I just love this place, and we're picking it up. People might call it think cross. And there were 5 young people working there. It was that busy, and they said everything's fresh, and it was almost like there were 5 different ethnic groups and backgrounds. I think they were all male at the time, but I said, "You're that guy." So I said, "Oh, Dumb and Dumber, right?" They went, "No, what? Fellas, you're Goodfellas fans, right?" I said, "No, we saw you on The Office. Netflix had The Office, and in the last few years, Office has this whole of I'm trying to. I just want to be recording all this. One episode, but it seems to be one of the more famous ones. Some people seem to know it well enough that they brought me to an office. Some people found I heard on interview shows or one of my favorites, or it's an iconic episode. That came out obnoxious. I'm sorry, but I was only on one episode, and it's not because of
not
me.
At all.
Carell and but the funny thing is, I found a whole new quiet. Some places it's funny, or on a flight, no one, and then all of a sudden the flight attendant,
Yeah.
or someone near me said, "I just want to tell you, I reckon." Oh, okay. I think that I used to get a lot. I would get and I was their bartender. Like I'd be visiting at a hospital, maybe my dad or something like that. I'm trying. The other night, right? Or you drove me the other night. I think because I play. The thing that can be scary is sometimes I think people look at me, know why, but they don't like me or they fear me. And I've been told that by people later on. Boy, I used to I used to see you when I first saw you. I was afraid, and I know you. I didn't know what you were these characters, and then I meet you, and you're not like that. So I have
Right,
that.
right, right.
I think character. One of my favorites was, I mean, was a guy, and I think we're in Chicago, but he was one of those celebrity experts or whatever. He was known for whatever cases, and he saw me. I had never met him because there's a lot of guys in different worlds, but he said, "Hey, I'd love to invite you. I'm over here. I'd love to invite you to the open." I said, "Oh, thanks." Then we're talking. He says, "Wait a second. We're talking like, aren't you such and such?" And I said, "Yeah, isn't that what you want?" He goes, "No, I thought you worked with me in Brooklyn South Homicide or whatever." I said, "I wish you would tell sometimes TV shows or movies. I think I'm a realistic detective." Someone said you come off more like the guys 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever. Said you sound like those guys look it, but interesting show, East New York. I may not have turned out to be the nicest guy on it, but funny like Law and Order, I played the bad guys. I wouldn't be the
Right, right.
you think for whatever reason. I go through different cycles.
Well, you're one of those guys that like you see on almost everything, even if it's one episode. Like, as a matter of fact, last night we had Perry Gilpin on from Frasier, and
Oh,
she says, "Oh,
oh,
tell Mike I said hi because you were like the plumber in Frasier. Like
my
you have
all-time
those,
favorites.
yeah,
Oh,
like
you
one of
just
those
made my day.
iconic."
Good.
Yeah, even though it was
Among
only
other
one
things,
episode, you have that iconic presence. Like just the one
me
episode, you
and
make an
John
impact.
McGinley.
Yes,
She said that is about really,
she
really.
says you're hysterical.
Oh my God, the phrase watching that, and they're in my list of things. If I'm alone before I go to sleep, it's got to be Seinfeld or Frasier or Curb.
Oh yeah,
I don't watch things or negative, but that show was so well done.
oh yeah,
I Perry Gilpin said that. Oh, that's great. Yeah, she is.
yeah,
She's so had some real too. She's very
yeah.
sharp about things. It was interesting listening to her. I Pierce.
Now, Mike, I know this wasn't a big studio movie, but I love everything you do. You're one of those guys that whenever you're on TV, no matter what you're doing, I'm like, I know I'm going to get entertained. But for some reason, and please don't take this the wrong way, I just love the movie The Deli.
Why would I take that the wrong way? It's funny. I tried to get there was a few things that out. He didn't know about sports, and I kept saying you got in. Some of these people become extremely famous and successful. I said I can get these guys to do the interviews. And I listened to this. He goes, I can't right now. And I said, John, it's on radio, on the car, and I'm playing in 10 minutes. I said, you won't hear them anymore. This is the opening. It'd be great in the scene when I lose the bet, whatever. But that was so many people love John Gallagher. I remember when I went to meet on Hoodlum, which me and my brother wound up doing. I saw Heavy D. I said, show the Deli we're doing. We had so many people like Ice-T just do it. Everyone, so many people.
Oh, Jerry Stiller.
Yeah. That was my choice.
Petey
How do you like
Cheesecake. That was his character name.
He wrote me the most beautiful letter. I only have a few. Dustin on but Jerry was the greatest to be with in stories. I had worked with him on a real low budget thing when I was starting out about taxi cab driving at the Copacabana or something. But he told me great stories about who he roomed with, and he just his whole history. He's like one of my all-time favorites. Jerry that was my idea. I said, Frank playing the guy we owe money to, and this and that, Tommy Tomato, and we lost Frank that was so he went on. I mean, good, and then also playing in The Sopranos, And I asked him he told me one time, he goes, someone asked me if I concerned about being. I told him it's better than being not cast. But Jerry, I told this cliche that everyone's Italian. I said, why can't you have like types of people? Is an Irish guy was in the Bronx. In this, I don't mean like I mean just like neighborhood people. What are they all stereotyped a different way? I said Jerry Stiller would really be like someone who was taking book, right?
Yeah.
Good idea.
It was a lot, it may have been a low budget, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? I laughed my balls off.
Fun. That three, and I hope that made sense what I was saying. It didn't sound obnoxious, but this neighborhood I come from. Do you know what I mean? That I wanted to reflect it more like Queens and Brooklyn. It's not all whatever people do. Everyone did something, of so-called ethnic background. But
I love Jerry Stiller's line in that movie. He's like, "You got to pay me back, or I'm going to be in the deli business."
Exactly, and he made that up. See, what happened was we know you guys can do this, and what happened? I'm pretty sure we. I went to my friend Billy the Greek. I want you to give me the worst possible bet that could pay off big, but it's like the biggest sucker bet, freeway. That's why I kept saying no. When it's entire, it has to all three have to win, and all three have to win. And the odds and exactly what it would pay. And John Dorian, God rest his soul, had owned the family, and it was his idea with John Gallion. They put that up, so he might have even come up with that line. We did that scene. I remember Jerry still looking up, right? Johnny, and this and that, right? Because he played a guy with so much heart, and came across, so many times he plays this, on Seinfeld and King. Not that you didn't like him, but he was just so off the wall. This was a guy who was really who cared, and he didn't want to see that. And that line said it all. That's the only thing, that Jerry had said that. Thanks. Yeah, the deli was, John did, and he had it. He had a big event for us. Down different people came from the business, and Tony Sirico. You think of the people that was in that. Summer of Sam, because Michael Imperioli and Victor both said to me, "We're doing this." Sam was in the Bronx. I said, "Oh, I remember the Queen stories. I could tell you stories or whatever. Working in a club and seeing a victim who had been disabled. We were telling stories. Oh, you'd be great for this, that." And Tony Sirico, God rest his soul, too, he said to me, he goes, "Should I call you scumbag? Whatever. Or hard on? Should I say hard on? Your mother won the bet, right? That great thing." And the one who played my mother had such an interesting history back to the days of Cafe La Mama, really out there theater, avant-garde theater, and I think even activism from the way back when, and South. She was an interesting, really interesting lady, and John wanted the point to be my mother, who I lived with, did not trust any government things, right? That's why I had to go through Tony Sirico's character, hey, hot on. Question about what he should say. I said, nothing beats the way you say.
Oh man, I cannot thank you enough for coming. I know it's almost 2 hours, and I apologize for running long, but it was that enjoyable. But Mike,
I'm
before do
instituted
me a favor,
today.
before we
I
let you
have the
go,
UPS. Okay.
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, day, different things I have to do for someone, but I've been my packages. I have to mail the family and this and that. I have
I got
time,
you.
so I budgeted time, but I'm talking 20 minutes or half an hour. It just doesn't happen. It's
Oh,
one of the
I
reasons
know.
sometimes I
I
edit
love it. I
has
love
to be
it.
on tour. I can tell a story in 3 minutes.
Absolutely. But before we let you
But thank
go,
you
I need
both.
you to do me a couple of favors.
Sure. Are
I
you on the
want you to
East
do.
Coast now? Are you
Yeah.
on the East
Well,
Coast?
Linda's in Vegas. I'm in Jersey.
You're in Vegas. I have to remember now to see you perform in Vegas. Because last time I went, I kind of just we worked. I said I didn't. I we were at I guess Fleming. What's the Laugh Factory was there?
Oh,
Yes.
Harry Bazile. Yeah, Harry. Yeah.
We had free. Yeah, I didn't go out much at all on that. I know
You should
I'm
go by
somehow going to
Brad
wind up
Garrett's club.
there. I
You'll
remember.
enjoy it.
I was going to actually things that I was going to go see the Mets AAA team, and there were things we did, but a lot of great times and made some good friends. Actually, from someone, a writer, actor from
Yeah.
Brad
But I
Morris.
know
But
I know that the
and Michael.
I know for. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying so. I'd like to next time find you.
Well, then
And
we're
you're in
gonna air
Vegas
this
and
live.
you're in Jersey.
Yeah. Well, if you get to Jersey, you got to come for macaroni and meatballs one day.
Okay,
I
where
got
are
skills in the
you in
kitchen.
Jersey?
I'm down in the Jersey Shore area. I mean, it's like witness protection down here.
I can get you
You know,
free tickets to a lot of clubs too here in Vegas.
Yeah. Oh,
I
Linda's got the whole
definitely
town.
take
She
you
got
up on that.
the whole town wired.
Queen of the town, yeah. I
Yeah, but
and I was in Spring Lake, New Jersey for a wedding
oh, that's not
in
too far
October.
from me.
Yeah, it was nice, and they had something to a great family. My friend married this great lady, and their family was really carried like it. Really, really a wonderful experience down there, and some people I've known. And the next, by the way, this is still my only vacation. Turned in mileage and wound up in Barcelona. Of course, my wife, she specializes. I don't want to, but the word is ECMO. Can't say the exact extracorporeal, and she's been honored for this, which she's low key to. These top people were Barcelona has this great hospital. They would on a course on how to teach people to use it or whatever it was. All it's being in Barcelona and eating, and walking around at midnight in the gym because my time was off. So
Wow.
macaroni and meatballs. I'll think of that
Oh no,
place.
you
I
have an
can't
open
remember.
door. Open door. Listen, Mike. Before we let you go, I need you to do me a couple
Anything.
of favors. One of them
Sure.
is you got to do the line, Frenchie's line, where he goes, you know, could be $500,000 all cash, totally
Oh, yeah,
untraceable.
it was. It wasn't. It was like money. Oh, too good to be true. Big score. Big score. Big score. Too good to be true. Baseball. He said it's, and again, this came from the book. It says it's from American tourists in France and uh, um, um, uh, and military guys over there. It's totally untraceable. It's cash. It was only. It wasn't. I don't know if it made it happen. It was a couple of $100,000. 1968. I have a great summer when he was playing Jimmy Burke. Just
Oh, I love it. Loved it.
Conway. But only on. Yeah, that just came to me. You know what? I wanted to be like I was shot out of a cannon, and of course, because Frank Silvero asked me. Imagine I sat with Charlie because for the key, to Joe Pesci. Pesci would break my balls because I do this some left elbow acting, and
Yeah.
and I was sitting there. Charlie say and Frank Silvero were telling the greatest stories, but at one point Frank said, "Mike, he's going to play this part. How you going to play this?" I said, "Well, I don't know." He goes, "No, because I want to tell you now. This is the way this guy was. May have been part of his demise among other people. But he was just so enthusiastic, and then this detective had told me, sharing with people, and he'd say the most outrageous, obnoxious things, but the joy of it. So that's why, from what I understood, so that's why I came up.
Oh, it was a great character, but
And there was nothing there at the time, It was Idlewild. There's really no.
yeah, it was not, yeah. I wanted to thank everybody who joined us today. Steve Cooper from Cooper Talk, the Queen of the Las Vegas Strip, Linda Marcus Smith, and our special celebrity guest today, Mike Starr. Mike, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I got something that I want to relay to you from all the troops,
Right.
and I always end my shows with this. As much as they love to hear thank you for their service, they always tell me, "Oh, you have such great interviews," and they want me to thank you for the entertainment value you provided for years, because
Said that, Chief.
sometimes these people are in forward areas, Mike, and and you don't know what's going to happen minute to minute. So, they work 18, 20 hours a day sometimes, and for that half hour, an hour, they get to watch a movie or see you or listen to
Yeah,
music,
I've
and
heard.
it brings them home for a few minutes. On behalf of them, I wanted to thank you.
Well, I should say to them, from guys, just play the but that was that character was guys, because of the scenes. So I didn't mean, I should say guys, gals, women, all.
Yeah.
I learned from a Marine Vietnam vet. He actually said, "I don't want to hear thank you," or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like he said.
Yeah.
He always taught me that the best thing to say. I just said it to a guy yesterday. Was welcome home. And it's
Welcome
specific.
home. Yeah,
Vietnam
absolutely.
veterans would understand that. Why?
Absolutely.
Actually,
And
so
if please tell your wife and your family, I want to wish you a very, I don't know if I say Merry Christmas, so some people have to say Happy Holidays because
whatever
they're
you
PC.
say, it all works for me.
I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, a Happy
Peace on
New
earth.
Year, and
Blessings.
I would love to do a round 2, like in the future.
Anytime you want. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you again. We'll talk.
Oh, definitely anytime, fella. Anything, and especially for this Forces Network. I mean, anytime. I'll do it a weekly show if you want. It's just I don't run.
Oh, that would be great. Oh,
I can't wait to go to Vegas, but also South Jersey, and have the real deal from you. All right, so I'll find my way back, and both places. So thank you, and patronizing, but thank you all that are listening to this. And if in any small way told an interesting story, I got plenty more in me, and it's an honor to.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Working, honor to be reaching out to everyone out there.
It's
Women,
an
men, and
honor
everyone.
to admire your work, and it's an honor to call you my friend.
Well, I thank you. Comes not only from my brothers and friends, but my mother and father. She was like that, and my father is solid. They were really great people. Really got lucky in being the baby in the
Absolutely.
family. So,
continued success, health, happiness,
and
we'll definitely talk and see each other in the new year. I want to thank everybody tonight. To all our men and women, God bless, and we'll see you on December 24th. We're going to air everything live. And if you're so inclined, Mike, down the road, Linda does a show too. She'd love to have you on her.
Anytime.
Thank you.
So,
yes,
absolutely.
We'll see you
Merry
all
Christmas
next time.
Out there, Christmas Eve, out there to all the people, and thank you again. All right, we'll do better the next time.
Oh no, this was a home run. I don't think we could top this, but like I said,
we're gonna work at that one. That's a challenge.
There you go.
All
right, we'll see you all next time right here live on Animal House Radio.